I would really encourage people to say, firstly, it's horrible, it's hurtful, it's cruel. A lot of the time, people are
It's
actively
cruel.
causing you a cruelty and unkind. It is on them, it's their stuff. Time is the greatest truth teller. It always comes out in the end what was going on. There's usually a
Yeah.
layer of shame, envy, jealousy, those sorts of things. But just protect you, protect your peace at all costs, protect your pieces, your beautiful pieces, make friends with you, and then
Mhm.
watch the friends, people that come into your life from there.
Yeah, welcome back to the Dana Grant Show, where we are focused on heart-centered conversations and elevation at a level that you're going to want to lean in today, because I have someone, Annalie Howling, that you're going to want to not only listen to, pull up a seat, you're going to want to lean in
Mhm.
extra hard. She is a genius. And I said everyone's got a genius, but she is really a genius. And she has a book coming out on May 13th. The fact she's taken the time to be here, people, we're going to launch this right away because her book, Unapologetic, I can't wait to get my hands on it. And welcome, Annalie. Thank you for joining us. And now you're in Austin. You're in the UK, but you're in Austin promoting your book and doing all the things.
I am. I am. Thank you so much for having me on. And actually, when I was going between having a chat with your team, it was me that said, "Can't I speak to her sooner?" Because I really wanted to come on with you. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, can't we do this earlier?" And bless them and you found this slot for me. So I feel really lucky to be connecting with you today.
Well, I think that you have so much to share. It's like I was going over my notes and I'm like, where do I dive into first? Because you do all the things, all the work. And, we pulled a little bit of I pulled a wisdom card. Well, not a wisdom card,
Mm.
a goddess card that was the inner wisdom, Athena. And I thought, your inner wisdom, you exude wisdom. And I think you've probably had a very big life, haven't you? You would not do
Yeah,
this work.
I
Let's
do.
start. Let's start there. I wasn't planning on starting there, but let's just do it. Let's just start there.
Let's dance in that. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. The card, I love the goddess cards as well, and it's funny that you pulled that because I had a distance Reiki healing session with a friend of mine. She's just starting out. She's like, "Can I try one on you?" And I was like, "Absolutely yes," because I
Yeah.
was like on my knees, and I was like, "Yes, please do anything." And I was so taken away. She was amazing, and she said to me she saw a white bird across my heart, and just what came up was just surrender, just to let
I like
go.
it.
Yeah,
I look at that white bird back
there's
there.
white
Yeah.
bird on your card. There's white bird. So yeah, and I'm looking over Ladybird Lake in Austin with all the birds and the bats, and just feeling into this. So yeah, my big life. Like we chatted off air on having a big life, and I think I wouldn't choose a lot of the things that have happened to me. I'm sure probably the same with yourself and the listeners. The betrayals, the violent childhood, the uh abusive and coercive relationships, the burnout, the healing work that I then had to go on to do. And as you know, then you have to make peace with the surrender of the healing work that you're never actually done, and find like,
The
navigate.
never actually done thing
Never
is
actually
like, I'm like,
done.
gosh, I think I get there. And then it's like, it's a mess again. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what the what? You know?
Never done, and like find your peace with that. And then, you're like, oh, cool, I've got it. I've done all the lessons. The universe goes, nah, babe, here's your ass back to you. And you're like, oh, okay, there was the last bit that I thought I was. So, yes, I do feel like I've had a lot of experiences in the sort of very nearly 44 years that I've been around. But I also feel very strongly, like in my whole soul, that my life is really just beginning, in the way that maybe I had to have the experiences, I think, to be able to be with clients in the way that I can.
Yeah.
I mean, we both chatted, like I don't do questions in advance because I'm like, ask me anything. And it's almost
Yeah.
not, I mean, I like it more. I'm quite mischievous. I like that this could go anywhere. And also,
Yeah.
I don't believe I'm being of service if I'm scripting. I want to
Yeah.
just be able to show up really authentically. But honestly, 5, 6 years ago, I was not that girl. Like, I would have had my nails digging into my palms, wishing that you stayed away from certain subjects. I would have been like, please, God,
Ah.
don't go near like a failing marriage, or please don't go anywhere close to self-harm, which is what I was also doing at the time. And I would have been still putting a brave face on it, in inverted commas, and probably saying all the right things, but I wouldn't have been showing up for you, and I would have been afraid of you fundamentally seeing a lot of things I was ashamed of. And now I'm on the other side of that, and the divorce and single parenting journey and all of that, finding love again. um yeah, I feel really free and quite emotional with that as well.
I can feel it. You said something really powerful, shame. And, shame is where people can get stuck out for a lifetime.
Mm,
How did you evolve through that and actually break free? Because you know that perfection paralysis, that ego mask, all that stuff shows up, and it's very hard to put down when we're triggered or we need something
mm.
externally from the world. How did you just say, "Hey, listen, I'm surrendering and I'm gonna dance with this universe and I'm gonna get on the other side"?
I would love to say that I made some like great choice and was like, that's enough. Like, here I am reclaiming my story. What happened to me was I had an catastrophic burnout and got, I would basically was like, you can't keep doing this. And I'm going to show you can't keep doing it.
Wow.
And then there were a few other things that I simply couldn't mask my way through, including the self-harming in particular. I used to ritualistically claw at my face until it bled, and I did that twice a day. And that was particularly active. It's a form of OCD, and I was particularly
Right.
active in that behavior towards the end of my marriage. And both of those times they were very somatic experiences for me. So the burnout was a very physical somatic. I couldn't outrun, outdo, outtrain, outthink, outperform the burnout. Like I was humbled, so humbled with that burnout. And I was
Yeah.
29 at the time. You're pretty resilient to a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
then when the self-harm happened, like I say, when I was at the height of that about 6 years ago now, maybe a little bit longer than that, probably about 7 years ago, um, that was also a very humbling and quite scary experience in that, you can have financial security and other things and a perfect life and everything else. But that was a silent, shameful scream that I was physically trying to claw out of my own face and I couldn't mask anymore. So exactly as you say, that perfectionism, for me, that just floored me. And then what I've tried to do with my book is everything that I found or needed or have since found out, that's what I've put into this because I needed
Right.
what I've written in those moments when I felt I didn't have any hope. And shame will tell you that you've got no hope because shame's this wicked, I call it the macabre puppet master of misery in the book. And it is because it
Wow,
wants
brilliant.
you, thank you. It wants you to believe that you're the only one. And if you really believe that, then you remain isolated because where's the hope for me? Like it won't work for
Yeah.
me. I'm the only one. And I get very, very activated and upset. So I wanted to speak to you actually, particularly and come on this show. I have a real issue with a lot of people in this space who uh, sell, if you like, cures for things like anxiety and depression, knowing it will never work.
Yeah.
And my real big bugbear with that is it's such a vulnerable community who already feels so much shame. And then when you read these things like 6,000 people cured their anxiety with this online course, and
Yeah.
it's like, so, and then so when it doesn't work for you, when I'm
Yeah.
the outlier, oh, I can't even do that. I'm that broken.
Yeah.
And that again is why I really wanted to put everything so uncomfortably, frankly, at times and vividly into this book. I mean, I don't know if you've seen this part, I appreciate you've got loads to look through, but I've actually waived my own right to anonymity in the book.
Yes.
And there's my therapist in there has put her perceptions of me when we first met, when I was first going through the self-harming
Wow.
journey. And I wanted
Right.
that in there along
Right.
with my divorce lawyer and other things. And I wanted that in there because if somebody is riddled with shame and they do want to speak to someone or get help and you're worried what someone may think of you. I mean, I could not have been more ashamed of my shame at that point in my life. I'm a therapist and coach helping people and I can't stop harming myself. I
Yeah.
mean, how shameful. What if people knew? And I wanted to therefore put something in that if people were feeling like they were in that position themselves, that this is what she thought of me. And it
Yeah.
was nothing shameful and she was wonderful.
I love that you just shared that. And I mean, you're giving me like goosies all over my arms because I'm sitting here and it's sitting here looking at me and I keep like feeling the energy of my book that I haven't
Mm.
released yet because it's like, what are they gonna? I mean, they've been waiting like, hey, can we get your edits back? Can we get your edits? I'm like, let me just rewrite some of those shameful parts because what is the world going to think of me
Yeah.
when they know that I'm nothing what they thought I was? When did you identify you've got all this going on? When did you identify that you needed to go way back
Mm.
to the core wound that in until you looked at that core wound and that was addressed, that nothing was going to change? Did you have some catalyst, some moment that you said, "Wait a minute, lights are going on and
Yeah.
I have to go way back."
There were a couple, in all honesty. So one of them was, again, when I was going out at the time, my marriage was failing, and I went out trying to find anything and everything that I could to save it. So I went on a variety of courses, a female sexual empowerment course, therapy. You know, my husband at the time felt he was having some mental health issues and felt very ashamed, and he at that point wasn't willing or able to go and get help for himself. So I went, and I remember being, it's in the book actually, I remember being mansplained by a therapist
Mm.
who would also turn up to sessions with a book on how to save your marriage. And I was like, I feel so judged.
Whew.
Yeah, I felt so judged. And actually, that anger in me, that unapologetic nature that went, whoa, 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 what the hell do you think you're doing? You know, this is just really inappropriate as a professional as well. And I'm thinking this is just so unethical. And that kind of, I think, almost kick-started something within myself to kind of fight for me again. And in a way, it can be very overwhelming when someone goes, "What do you want? Dana, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want?" You're like, you know, and as women as well, we're told to be polite and colour within the lines and don't write anything shameful in your book, Dana. What are people going to think of you? And how can you go around wherever, like, and people are going to judge you, you know, and what do you want? What do you want it to be? What do you want it to say? And it's like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. You know, we can actually
Yeah.
go into like a fight, flight, freeze, flop, fawn, placate,
Oh
placate,
yeah.
placate, put somebody else's needs before ourselves. But what do you want? What do you want? Let's just do what you want. It's easier. It's better. Let's just do what you want instead. And that, I think, helped me to shortcut what I really didn't want. And I was like, no, I'm going to really take a stand for myself here. And another time was on the female sexual empowerment course, actually. And it's women only. And there were a lot of women that had been victims of assault who were struggling to be with their own bodies themselves, let alone in a partner or something like that. And a lot of people feeling very broken, very violated. And there was just this universal collective theme. And I see it all the time. And it's that I don't know how to ask for what I want. And even if I could, I don't know if I feel worthy enough to receive or have my needs met in any regard, not just in a pleasure focused way. Like I must do something for you first. I must
Right.
offer you something. Dana, I want to, I've come on your show and I haven't done anything for you. Like I'd like, let me edit your book. Let me give you some advice. Let me do this thing for you. Or, you know, if I'm inviting someone round to my house, let me make sure it's immaculate and I'm immaculate and I've prepared something and it looks fine. And, you know, it's this whole, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm feeling this.
Yeah, you know, or how can I
Yeah.
possibly be with a new partner unless
Yeah.
I have dropped that last niggly £5 from holiday or had a wax and everything else? I couldn't
Or had a breast
possibly,
lift or
right,
yeah,
all the
yeah.
stuff,
All
all
the
the
stuff.
stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
every single thing, because I don't fundamentally feel worthy or enough just as I am. So those were the kind of they are key moments that really stick out to me, is in the pursuit of finding something to save my marriage, which I didn't find. And actually it's worked out for the best all round for everybody, but I did find me. And again, that's why I wanted to put in these pages, these areas, like I go into great detail about pleasure and sex and, you know, the
Right.
kind of myths and lies that shame tells us about there as well.
Yeah.
And whatever your relationship might be with your body, I wanted to put in, you know, stories about that and experts, as well as my own memoir, as well as my own clients, because I just want people reading it to see that if that's me, then, you know, then I'm not alone and there's hope for me.
I love that because I think everyone feels that no one would understand. And I remember years ago going to therapy saying you couldn't possibly understand. You couldn't possibly know how big and how much trauma and I think we get overwhelmed in
Yeah,
our own stuff. So the fact that you broke it down and you share all these different perspectives is brilliant. You know,
thank you.
and knowing what the therapist says, knowing what your client from all avenues, it's you that the circumference around that is, I mean, I can't wait to read it all because it's like I already feel my head like a little bobblehead. Yes, 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 yes. That's right. That's right. But what do you think holds people back from healing? From, there's so much secretiveness in,
Mm.
because you do this work. I know because I do this work. It sometimes takes women 6 months before they even tell me something I already know to be true, but they have the courage to finally say it. And
Yeah.
what do you think holds them back the most?
I think that we have this sort of propensity again, it's not Machiavelli. There's nothing Machiavellian in the nature for a lot of people, but we
Yeah.
just feel that we can't take up that space, that we can't ask for. Tell you the other thing, I think with women in particular, let's just say something's happened to me and we're friends. I'm aware that you've got stuff going on. You just share with me that you were helping your daughter for a couple of weeks launch her
Yeah.
business. I feel that I've already taken too much from you. So
Mm,
I feel like, well, I can't ask Dana again. I'm going through this really difficult time. Maybe I'm going through a bereavement or a loss, or I'm
mm,
struggling with something else. I can't ask Dana because she's really, she's got to be there for her daughter right now. Or she's just been traveling, or she's doing her podcast, or she's got her book coming out. I've already overlent on her. And so I
mm,
think we can become very isolated because we're so empathic that we
mm.
are, and no one has nothing going on, and so at times that I've needed support and help, I've had to train the muscle of asking for help and saying I'm not okay. That is something I've had to really teach myself and learn. That's being quite unapologetic, is saying if I'm not all right. And it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you have to fix it for me, but just really actually showing up
Yeah.
and saying, do you know what, I'm not okay. The first thing, the reason, one of the main reasons this book is called Unapologetic is the second that people can't hold it in anymore. If you or I were to burst into tears now, the likelihood is we would say sorry for crying. Oh God,
Mm.
sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. For actually sharing emotions. So with my clients,
Yeah.
when that happens, and the apology comes, and I say this to my daughter as well, it's an honor that I can witness you in this place. And that's not me being floofy woofy. It's
No.
stress leaving your system. It's something that you have been unable to mask, push down, pretend any further. And to me, it's also a release of stress. It's our system just doing its
Yeah.
natural cleansing process and just helping to relieve the stress. And for someone that pushed it in and didn't cry for years and clawed at their face, please cry. Let the
Yeah.
emotions, if that's,
I
let
love
it
that.
flow.
Please cry. So crazy you say that. I mean, it's almost as if you're the intuitive leaning into my life over the last 48 hours. And I'm not much of a crier these days. But I've been like, whoa, everything's just been, I think I've been, holding a lot.
Mm,
And I thought, you know what, it's a really healthy thing to cry, but we don't give ourselves permission. It's like
mm.
I'm gonna cry later because I've got so much
Do
to
what
do
you do.
now,
Yeah.
and it's almost as if when you were coming on and I was reading some inserts, I felt very emotional. And I thought, stuff it down. What are you gonna do? You're gonna cry. You're interviewing her. Don't be crying about, your own stuff, but it rubbed up against and it was so familiar. And I thought, oh, I can really identify with so much of this. And I think so many people can identify. What do you think women, we could say men too, need,
Mm.
because you've worked with, and I was reading this, and let me put my glasses back on because this is big. I mean, I love EMDR, and I think that is so powerful. But you have worked with, billionaires, Hollywood actors, football players, league football CEOs, people at the top of their game.
Hmm.
Even what I was most impressed with was the ex
Oh, UK Special Forces.
special
Yeah.
forces. Now that you're working, what divides them from the layman that's walking around the street saying apples and oranges? Break
I
that
so I would,
down. Yeah.
yeah, I would say pretty much nothing, because
Yeah.
the same thing that unites, or a fear that we may share or something we may experience, is the inner critic or imposter syndrome, which is the thing
Yeah.
that I would see the most.
Mm.
The thing that I definitely see, particularly in sports, that I think people don't realize this, but your salary is out there. So if I'm a footballer, soccer player, and I'm paid, I don't know, $300,000 a week, which is huge,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
everyone sees that. But what they don't see is how much the agent takes. And what they don't see is how much family members take, usually because you signed the contract as a child. And then what they
Mm.
don't see is obviously taxes and other things, and any other people that you might be financially and fiscally, responsible
Yeah.
for, and emotionally. And then what happens is you have this expectation and responsibility of meeting a variety of needs. In the UK, if you're a
Mm.
professional soccer player, you have to pay your mortgage off by the age of 35. They won't give you a mortgage past that because that's effectively your sell by date. as your
Wow.
fitness state. Yeah. So this is why the reason that a lot of people end up being bankrupt and with issues and addictions and things like that, because
Yeah.
and unfortunately it is a little bit million dollar baby. There can be a lot of people around for the good times and there can be a lot of people around with hands out. And this has been established for a really, really, really long time in a lot of cases. And it can leave you feeling so isolated and betrayed. And of course, who's going to feel sorry for you? Who's
Yeah.
going to feel sorry for you when
Yeah.
we've got poverty and people going to food banks and
Mm.
other things going on in the world? Who's going to feel bad? Oh, boo hoo, Mr. Professional sports athlete. But the
Yeah.
reality is, like I've said this before, a lot of my private clients are also ultra high net worth individuals. I'll get flown and go and see someone ultra high net worth, and I will hear honestly some of the saddest stories of abuse, emotional neglect, boarding schools from 4 or 5, then going back into a societal kind of, let's talk, but Downton Abbey, where it's just cold and there's people around, and you may never have worried about having a meal or being able to heat your home, which is, of course, a huge privilege, but there was never any warmth, even in those sort of fires or of love, and you had no demonstration of that. And then, of course, there's other avenues to fill that with addictions and things. And it's so lonely and isolating. But then there's another huge dollop of shame. Who's going to feel bad for you? That's not a
Right.
real problem. I hear people all the time. It's not a real problem. You haven't got real problems. But I'm so lucky. They'll reel off this massive list of stuff that you're like, oh my goodness, and then go, but I've
Yeah.
got a lot to be grateful for. I've got nothing to complain about. Nothing
Yeah.
to complain
I
about.
hear that a lot when people start to, and they're like, but I'm so grateful. I should be complaining. And
Yeah.
how do you think, and how do you bridge when they're in that space and what they desire most, or perhaps what they need the most is to connect? And they
Yes.
don't have any skill set tools on how to. And so this is, as you know, addiction, all those things, because that's a way of connecting
Mm.
and, connecting with some form, a piece of yourself. And what do you do to help bridge that?
Yeah, it completely depends, obviously, on the individual. But I
Right.
always say, are you? Let's say they're using something, gambling, drugs, sex, something, and I say, are you using it to feel more, or are you using it to feel less?
Mm,
And 99% of the time, they want to feel less, so that's numbing, so less of the noise, the shame. They use it to not hear or listen to shame, which is ever present. I mean, especially around addictive behavior, because you just handed your shameful self back. Because I mean, with me, that was an addiction. It was a form of OCD with the self-harming, and I would make myself promises that I wouldn't do it again, and then I would do it again. What a
mm,
failure. How weak I was. And so shame is just this, and you do anything not to have to hear that, or at least prolong it, or buy yourself some time and potentially say, let's, you're using alcohol or narcotics or something like that. Maybe you can give yourself you don't want to be facing up to it, and although it's going to be worse 2 days later, I'll just
mm,
stick in it for now. The same with sometimes kinds of relationships, although that's a totally different area, so abusive and controlling relationships. But yeah, shame will have us believe its narrative, and the more damaged sort of we are, the more damage we've experienced, and we fear the idea of looking in our own closet. We think that's the thing that's going to take us down, and actually you're in that pain, you're in this turmoil until you put shame out in front of you. There's a
yeah.
Carl Jung quote that I love, and it's a
Mm,
wise man that puts his shadow out in front, so it can
mm,
never take you down from behind. That
mm.
is shame.
Brilliant.
That's with sort of addictions and things like that, when you just think, I can't possibly handle myself. I can't possibly be alone with myself. I need to be doing something. And a lot of addictions are very positively applauded by society. Work can be an
Right.
addiction. Oh, they're just working so hard. They're working all the hours. They're working so hard. You get applauded for that, but it's an exit to your life. It's a way of not being intimate with people. It's a way of not showing up. Exercise is
Mm,
another one. There are things where you can be actively praised by people
yeah.
for, your work ethic. Like, these addictions and behaviors don't have to, we maybe picture people struggling with, like I say, alcohol or narcotics, but it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be that. And all of these things are you fundamentally taking an exit from yourself, from your own humility, your own fragility. And for the longest time we're trying to outrun shame, something will happen physically or emotionally. You're probably going to have a burnout, and at some point you're going to have to face it. You cannot outrun your shadow. And actually, the time that, and again, it's all in the book, when I really did just go, okay, okay, you know
Yeah.
I'm right, I'm
Yeah.
tired, I
I
surrender,
I'm tired. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm tired. Like you, I know when I'm getting my warning light, which is it's not the big thing that will send me over the edge. Never is. Never a cancelled flight or a, I don't know, it's never a big thing. It's a,
Yeah.
oh God, I forgot something from my daughter's school bag and I feel like the worst mum ever, or just something really minor is the stuff that will send you over the edge. I'm like, okay, my warning lights are on here. I need to kind of get back to self now. But yeah, when you accept and surrender, and if you need obviously help to do that, absolutely get it. Professional friends, something else. But when we just stop and we allow ourselves in, it's never as bad as you think. You're never as bad as you think. You were never as bad as shame had you believe. And all of that shame was never yours. The things that I hear from people when they come to me, I'm weak, I'm hopeless, I'm helpless, I'm not enough, I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy, I'm disgusting, I'm out of control, I'm unsafe, I'm terrified. And then the things they leave with saying, there's nothing else I could have done. I was heroic. I was only a child. I'm so worthy. I'm brave. It's just so beautiful to witness that transition. And that's shame moving out of someone's system. And immediately what happens is that it gets flooded with self compassion. And I honestly feel like the most lucky person in the world to be able to do that work with somebody when I watch them shift. And it's always you mentioned it earlier. Most times now I get people, I've never told anyone this before. I've never told anyone this before. It's the first time I've ever spoken about it. So much shame, especially with all these things done to someone that most of the time were a child or were certainly really young without the knowledge or experience or even the language to explain what had been happening. And then the shame they've carried for decades and decades. But still, it's never, I want to say to everyone listening, it's never too late. It's never, ever, ever too late to live a life without shame.
And that's, I love the fact that you said that. And it's amazing how when we live that life of shame and we don't share, would you find that we call in reinforcements? They say that 95% of our life is subconscious. We live in this subconscious, I call it the matrix. What pill are you taking? Because that's not your reality, but we
Yeah,
call in people that reinforce and acclimate that shame. And, it's pretty remarkable when you start to shift. And I would say you're talking about loving yourself and honoring yourself and taking every version of you and saying, "Oh my God, I love you. You did the best you could. And I'm so proud of you for getting through that." All those different versions of us in this life. When we get there, it can get very lonely. It can get very,
mm,
would you find that people kind of fall away and we have to find a new support team?
it does happen. But I would just like to say to people if they're considering making some changes for themselves. I'm in Austin, as you mentioned. I'm here because I'm going to be
Yeah.
doing a big talk at the Health Optimization Summit on Saturday. And my
Yeah.
talk, even though the festival, generally speaking, the conference is about sort of biohacking and health and things like that. And I
Mhm.
said to the team, I want to talk about relationships. And I specifically want to talk about what happens in your life when you make a choice for you. And I said, I'm going to bet my bottom dollar that most people attending a conference around biohacking or health have had the medicine fail, right? Western med has
Yeah.
failed them in some way.
Yeah.
They've found their own way back to health, okay? And they're passionate about it. But I know from having gone through a divorce and from having had to make choices around my own health and body, my daughter, my job, that I have had to make choices for me that don't always suit other people, whether I knew that or not. And they have moved out of
Yeah.
my life, some very hurtfully, some very suddenly, some with a great big dollop, not even a sprinkle of betrayal on top. Um, the
Yeah.
most difficult part is when something good is happening for you and you think, but you've seen me suffering, whether it's my physical health, my mental health, my emotional health. I mean, also had
Right.
everything at one. Most people do. It was like lockdown, single parenting. We were having to homeschool. We had two lockdowns in the UK. Divorce. My business is tanking. I've got lawyers on me every second. I'm developing like jaw clenching from being so anxious all the time and not sleeping, and then was being let down by people left, right, and center. And I was so low and broken at that time. And then I lost a friend when I got my book deal. I was thinking that'd be a great thing to celebrate. Apparently not. I lost another friend when I met my now partner. And after
Yeah.
years of hurt, such extreme hurt as well, healing and recovering and going through this, I meet my now boyfriend who's amazing, like the loveliest soul, and lost a friend over that. And you think, wow, you really did only want me when I was small. or when I was smaller, or when I maybe wasn't even in my own power fully, which is quite a soft power. You know, you're a
Yeah.
powerful person, but you're kind and generous and nurturing, you're beautiful, but you've got this lovely warmth and softness to this power as well. But it's incredibly hurtful. It's so hurtful, especially when you've been there for someone. You've done the midnight calls, and not that we keep a tally, but you think, gosh,
Yeah.
you really can't be happy for me. And
Yeah.
that is them, not you. But I've learned
Yeah.
quickly now, if someone is not willing to cheer for me, there was one of my posts, if you cheer for me or steer clear from me, and I
Yeah.
kind of mean that. Like, if you're not willing to be round my table with a smile if I've got some good news, if you're
Yeah.
not, I've done it where I've been in that place and a friend of mine has met a partner and I am delighted for them. Even it might be a little bit me being like, when's my turn? There certainly was, or when will I get
Yeah.
my go? But absolutely, I was
So for
thrilled for
them.
them. And that's the big difference. And that's what I think is, I just really want to hold on to here, because I know a lot of people listening will be going through that. When you start making choices for yourself, if you start
Yep.
unpacking your shame,
Yep.
I write in the book, there's a very British saying that it's misery that loves company. And I've argued that actually it can be shame, which sounds paradoxical because I've said that shame is very isolating. It is. But if I give
Yeah.
the example of someone is drinking a bit too much and not wanting to face up to some stuff going on, and they can go, well, it's not that bad because I'm going out with so and so and they're doing cocaine every day, or it's not that bad because they're having an affair with their boss, or it's not that, but
Yeah.
it's like, people, if they're not willing to face their stuff, will quite often associate with other
Yeah.
individuals.
Yeah. They
And you
neutralize
say,
it. Yeah.
you completely, because they don't want to, it's almost, well, I'm not as bad as them. So there can be that, which again, if you were friends with someone, you're like, why are you not including me? A lot of the time they're feeling deeply ashamed.
Yeah.
And I say as well, there's people that can't, because maybe they've got something going on, deeply shameful,
Mhm.
health concerns, something like that. But you'll know, they'll tell you,
Yeah.
maybe not right away, but they will tell you, they'll invite you into that. And then there's people that simply won't.
Yeah.
And they will never want to see you win. And not only do they want to see you win, they're actually waiting for the first sign, the first crack that anything is wrong or you're weak or you might fail. And they're there waiting for it.
Yeah.
Just as soon as you see that, just step away. And
Yeah.
then your people do arrive. Like, then your people turn up, and they turn up with
Yeah.
arms open, and it can be
Yeah.
really new connections. It can be people that you never expected. It could be someone that you've had very little kind of interchange with, that can become a wonderful friend and champion of yours. But absolutely, if you feel any of that energy, and even if you're worried about being isolated and lonely, make friends with you. Look at your own areas you might be having shame. Make really, really good friends with yourself and set that as your benchmark. Because if you
Yeah.
like you, and if you can be with you completely, you're not going to accept anyone treating you in a bad way or less than. And actually, it sounds horrible. I don't mean it in this way, but it's like
Yeah.
oil and water. Like, I get quite repelled by energy now quite quickly. It's like, oh, I just can't be with that. That is just not
Yeah.
it's not a good fit for me. And what I mean is, it's going to take from me, which means I can't look after my daughter properly and do
Yeah.
my job properly. So I would really encourage people to say, firstly, it's horrible, it's hurtful, it's cruel. A lot of the time, people are
It's
actively
cruel.
causing you a cruelty, and unkind. It is on them. It's their stuff. Time is the greatest truth teller. It always comes out in the end what was going on. There's usually a
Yeah.
layer of shame, envy, jealousy, those sorts of things. But just protect you, protect your peace at all costs, protect your pieces, your beautiful pieces, make friends with you, and then
Mhm.
watch the friends, people that come into your life from there.
I love that. And I think that, where there might be, if I'm saying it correctly, a double bind is a lot of people don't want to walk away from those friendships
Mm,
because then they feel there's more shame. There's something wrong with them that how
yeah.
can I be is it but we call that in to evolve, and that's that space of loneliness where before we've got to make that space to call in the women that support and celebrate. I stayed in
Mm.
a 30-year-old friendship that wasn't supportive, used to call me a lame duck, really
Oh,
loved my brokenness, loved my pendulum and the highs, lows, the self-sabotage, the illness, all of it, and was always there for me. But when I was healing and when I evolved, everything changed. And I'm like, what is
mm,
happening? And it ended and I walked away and it broke my heart. And then I thought there was something wrong with me. Like,
mm,
obviously there's something wrong with me because people that are stable, have 30, they don't walk away from 30-year-old friendships. People that walk away from long-term friendships, there's obviously something wrong with them. It's like,
I
why don't you have friends from high school? Why don't you have friends from childhood? I hear that and it makes me want to go crazy. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean, I had a client in the other week, and she's been very, very physically unwell, like really poorly with long COVID, in huge amounts of
mm,
pain. And she is child free by choice, sort of single, and was always the friend that went to the friends' houses for the kids' birthdays and this and that. Because
yeah,
she's on her own, she's single, she's expected to do
yeah,
it. She's got the time, she's got the time,
yeah.
And then she literally couldn't. She also works in a field where there was no job security, works for herself, so to speak. So it's not like a big, healthcare payout. You can't just
Mhm.
be unwell. And I said, when you live alone, which I do, if you're ill, it can be quite scary. You can't physically get down the stairs, or you're in so much pain, or what if I pass out in the
Yeah,
bathroom? It's actually quite terrifying. Anyway, but
yeah.
these so-called
Quite
friends,
terrifying.
even though she's been so unwell, haven't been to see her, haven't been to support her, and yet have just been casting such deep aspersions over her personality.
Mm,
And unpacking it all, it turns out she's on the up. She's, things are coming. She's still in some pain, she's still in some discomfort, but career is beginning to bloom. Have met some really lovely new community where she lives, and a very more equitable friendships. And sure
yeah.
enough, the people that benefited from her brokenness, perhaps, can see that she's moving on, and they don't want her to
Mm,
be unavailable to them, but also
yeah.
can't support her in her flourishing. And it's really, really difficult. But I sort of give people the example of, because we get into the, oh, but I've known them for 30 years. But we did this, and I went to their wedding, and and look at, they're in this picture. And it's
Oh
like, look,
yeah. Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
walked into a bar or a party or wherever right now, and you got chatting to this person, a coffee shop, would they be your person? Would they be, or would you be like, oh my God, you're so negative or mean? I mean, a lame duck is one of the meanest things I've heard. That's so horrible.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
really personal. It's designed to cause you harm. That's what I hate
Yes.
about that. That was designed to cause you harm.
Yeah.
And so if someone is in your life like that, like, I wouldn't tolerate it from a stranger or someone in a coffee shop, and nor should you. And the
Yeah.
other flip of that is, you can guarantee they are treating strangers in coffee shops better. They are.
Oh,
They're not.
absolutely.
So that's kind of the, and we don't have to never be friends with someone again. It's okay to kind of
Yeah.
demote somebody. It's okay to just not dedicate as much time. It's okay to redesign it if you find that they're really mean to you in one to one, but actually it's better on a, I don't know, outdoor group walking, but you do you, babe. Like, you redesign it how you need it to be, to, if you need to. And sometimes it's a family member, so it can get a bit tricky. We can't completely,
Oh,
do that.
oh
Sometimes we
yeah.
can, sometimes we can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can redesign your availability, and you can redesign your interaction with people. But yeah, if you put it into today's context, would you choose to hang out with that person? I'm gonna bet not. And
Mm,
then, would they treat probably a complete stranger better and with more kindness? I'm gonna say yes. And then from there, you have your decision as to, or your options. Okay, well, how might I choose to spend my time, and how much energy am I prepared to put into this, and what's the best environment that would suit this
yeah.
best?
I love that because some people choose to heal and some people don't.
Mhm.
And when you evolve, I do believe, and at this age in my life, I call in different vibrational women. And I feel like I've known them my whole life. And, and I celebrate that. And I don't need the longevity of the 30 years. But in my mind, that 30-year value was like, well, that gave me, for me, grounding, credence, value, that I had someone that loved me for 30 years and that was my friend for 30 years. And if I didn't have that,
That's shame, babe. Good old
yeah,
shame. There's something wrong with you.
shame,
There's something wrong with you, because
something
you
wrong
haven't
with
been able
me.
to maintain,
Yeah. Yep.
Dana, haven't been able to maintain a 30-year-old
Yep.
year old friendship. So you must be the lame duck that she said that you
Yeah.
were, rather than,
Yeah.
hang on
Rather
a minute,
than,
how long have you been getting kicked by this
yeah.
person? How long has
Yeah.
this person been,
Yeah.
bringing you down? How long
Oh,
has
yeah.
this person been in your life and been unable to cheer for you? But yeah,
Oh,
that's shame.
yeah. And it's so brilliant that now I look back on it and I'm like, wow, why did I tolerate all of that? There wasn't a lot of joy and synergy and celebration and laughter. There was a lot of stress. But
Yeah.
I just reproduced, my life with the friends that I called in. And I think that when I'm listening to you and I'm looking at your life now and what you've released and you no longer tolerate and the boundaries and parameters you put around it, you're like, I can feel the energy coming around the corner and it's like, hell no,
Yeah.
not doing
Yeah.
it. And that's a yes, and that's a yes, but that's an absolute no. I don't even know why, but it's just a no. And
Totally, totally. I haven't
yeah,
got, honestly, I haven't got the time to sort of unpick it.
unapologetically,
Yeah.
unapologetically, no.
But the other factor is I'm like so soft-hearted. I'm Cancerian. I'm so soft-hearted. I'm really kind. I'm
Yeah,
really nurturing. I'm really
you
loving.
are.
I'm really giving.
You are.
And it hurts me to go through
Yeah.
those things as well. So, and then that affects my daughter, and that affects other people in my life. So
Yeah.
actually, it's almost a way of me kind of taking some responsibilities when I'm going, do you know what? This doesn't feel good to me. If that doesn't feel good to me, just like if I was going to eat something that made me feel poorly or my tummy hurt, or, like, yeah, there's an activity
Yeah.
that really doesn't work for me. Like, it's same with
Right.
people. Some people just don't work for me, and that's okay. And it would also be really false of me to pretend for them. That's not very nice to
Yeah.
them either. It's like me leading someone on, that
Yeah.
that's not cool.
Yeah.
So
So
we have
giving
a
ourselves permission just to be honest and transparent and showing up for, we always say put ourselves first. And it's sometimes difficult to do, but I love that unapologetically, I'm going to choose me.
yeah,
And by that, I choose you and I'm in a better relationship with you because of it. Because if I'm not
totally.
honoring myself, I can't honor you. I love this conversation so much. I could talk to you all day long. So I always ask this question, and it feels even more impactful to ask you, what feels like love in your life right now? I know I
Mm.
can feel what your life has been like and what you've chosen and your evolution and you can feel when people are elevating and healing and I mean you're vibrating up here. But what feels like love for you right now in your
I've
life?
got to say the big word that's just coming up for me, and I lean into it, is just freedom. I feel like I'm
Mm,
finally about to have freedom, and I mean that in a number of ways, like to be
yeah,
myself, to not be sort of like outrunning. I've had to run a lot, I've had to be running on like fumes
yeah,
energetically,
yeah.
financially, like, I've
And
had
how's that
to,
working for you?
yeah, like single mumming, all those sorts of things. And I've made it work. Like I've made it through, but
Yeah.
I feel like I'm on the precipice of actually being able to really just ease into the gooiness of complete freedom of me, of being me, and just really enjoying kind of the bounty of it all, of the freedom that I've longed for. That's what love really feels like to me. Like time with my daughter, time with my boyfriend, like beautiful being present, all of that.
Yeah.
That's what's coming in for me.
So for the people, I love that so much because I can feel it too. It's like
Mm,
it feels very cohesive.
yeah.
For the people that say, I just want freedom, I want freedom, and they don't know how to get there, what is maybe something you can leave this audience with that you can say, if you find yourself here and you want freedom, this might be the first steps to take, or look at
Sure.
this in your life. What would that look like?
So for me, a good exercise is write down all the things you think you should be doing. I should check in with that person. I should get back to them. Oh, I should lose 10 pounds. I
Mm,
should improve this. I should do more episodes this week. I should send all those emails. I should spend more time with my kid. I mean, please write down the shoulds,
mm,
preferably when you finish, burn them. But if not, have a look at all of those shoulds and then get really, really, really quiet. Like just however you need to meditate, go for a walk, whatever it is for you. Glass of wine, somewhere beautiful. Like, and just then check in with what it is that you want. And that's going to be a quieter, softer, wiser energy that's going to whisper something to you like peace, time for me to be more
mm,
creative,
mm,
love. Just listen to what that says. And then have a look at the shoulds list, which is always for other people, by the way. And
mm.
then, like I say, preferably burn it. Or certainly put it to, sort of put it over to one side, like, or which ones are the ones that the world will genuinely stop spinning if you don't do them. The
Yeah.
others, park them. And then have a look at one of those wants and take one action towards it. That's it. Like I want more peace. Okay. That means canceling a few things off and taking myself somewhere that I know I can nurture that feeling. That means booking that sound bath that I fancied for ages because it gives me a nice feeling. Having a massage on a Sunday night and whatever it might be, but do something that you want rather than this massive, massive, great big list of shoulds that we all live underneath. And you're
Mm.
in one step starting to reclaim your own power, and in doing so, setting yourself free.
There it is right there. By doing that, you're reclaiming
Mm.
pieces of yourself. I love that. I absolutely love this conversation. Okay, tell us what's coming up next. Tell us where they can find you. Where do you jam the most? Is it Instagram? Is it LinkedIn? I mean, where can people find you, follow you, see you, connect with
Oh,
you, book,
thank you.
all of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instagram would be the best place. So at Annalie Howling on Instagram, there's 307,000 other like-minded souls. We've got a nice community there. Everyone's really
Yeah.
supportive. It's really lovely. So that's Instagram is the main place. There is YouTube as well. We're going to be doing more on that in the future, but right now Instagram would be the place to be to catch up on everything. And then it's the book, Unapologetic, Unshackle Your Shame, Reclaim Your Power,
I love
which is
that.
out on the
Unshackle your
13th.
shame.
Unshackle your shame and reclaim your power. Yeah, get to your freedom. And that's out on the 13th of May. That's available all over the US, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Target, a lot of local bookstores as well. It's absolutely beautiful as well, this book. And in the back of the book, there is a manifesto where it's a big
Mm.
poem. I won't say all of it, but the very last bit is sorry, not sorry. I offer here my last apology to myself. And you
Oh,
sign it. So you finish, it's like a course, like you sign this book, which is you can sign a way of healing a part of you, a time that you said sorry that you shouldn't have done, as in like someone made you feel small, someone, maybe you were in a situation that they told you that was the only way to be safe. Maybe that was the way that you felt you had to be loved, was by being smaller and dimming. Maybe someone was forcing you into positions in a friendship, but you get to sign away that apology to you for those times that perhaps you weren't honored in that way. And it's so powerful. So
wow.
yeah, please
So, so powerful. That
get
is
the
so
hard
powerful.
copy, get the hard copy, read it, devour it, enjoy it, take time over it, create that as a ritual. And at the end, sign away that last apology and feel that little oof just for you. It's amazing.
Oh, powerful. And the book is on pre-order now.
It
So
is, yes.
yeah, we're gonna have all the links, and I no doubt when the book comes out, I love reading, but I'm already like I'm waiting to, you know, to share it and share the nuggets because I know I can feel the wisdom in this book. And I think you
Mm.
share so much, you're so generous. You share so much of your heart and your life in order to help people evolve. And that's what this podcast is all about. This heart-centered conversations of really helping people see that we're all connected and that we're not so different when we carry shame. Like you said, I don't care if you're in the military or a professional, but everyone shows up feeling this imposter syndrome and this shame. And it's our job to love ourselves and work through it. And you say it so eloquently and so beautifully. I adore you. I adore you. I can't wait to like see you again. Is there any in California? I'm in California. Is there any book signings going on in California
So
or
not in
states?
California at the moment, just because for me with Little Miss, it's quite a big trip at the moment. So I'm doing a signing at Barnes and Noble on 5th, in New York on the 13th. I'll be there for that week, like I said, in Austin and then
So exciting.
Nashville this week. But I will,
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, I
certain I'll be
love
doing
Nashville.
West Coast later in the year,
Oh,
definitely.
so exciting. Well, we're absolutely gonna. I'm claiming a connection there. I'm already claiming it, and I can't wait to connect with you again. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you for just sharing so much of your story and your life. You're just a beautiful human. I'm
Thank you for
grateful.
getting me on early. I knew I wanted to do this. This was one
Yeah,
that I was so excited about, and I couldn't be more delighted. I've absolutely loved connecting with you, and I think this is a conversation that a lot of people will take a lot from. So thank you.
I agree. I agree. All right, everyone out there, thank you for joining the Dana Grant Show. Please make sure you download this, share this, whomever you think needs this. I can feel the expansion of this podcast. I can just feel it going. And that's just me being my weirdo intuitive self. I can feel it like just expanding. And I think it's so many people. This is so full of wisdom, and I can't wait to get your book in as many hands as possible. It's the
Oh,
world the
thank
world
you.
needs the world needs more healing. So thank you again and bye for now.
Bye.